Are you wondering why Michael keeps getting blamed when everyone else is busy lighting their own lives on fire? The mystery of Chase's perpetual outrage continues to defy logic. Once again, he led with his fists, apparently betting on the fantasy that Michael would simply decline to defend himself, or, better yet, decline to press charges. Unfortunately for him, self-defense is still a thing, even when one's opponent is nursing a grudge large enough to require its own zip code. Sonny's behavior in this saga remains the real plot twist. His sudden indifference to whether Michael allegedly shot Drew contrasts sharply with his refusal to believe Michael when he says he didn't. Meanwhile, Willow, now enthralled with her latest savior, Chase, receives Sonny's full, inexplicable support. Even Drew, in his current state, seems to recognize he's been replaced. Whether Willow actually plunged that needle into Drew or merely fantasized it is almost beside the point. Either version fits seamlessly into the new persona she's cultivating. Michael, however, has no hesitation calling the situation exactly as it presents itself. Chase still carries a torch for Willow, a torch so large it could scorch his own marriage. The fact that he once lost her to Michael clearly still stings, hence the renewed susceptibility to impulsive brawling. Yet Chase can't even fall back on his usual "I'm a cop" posturing, seeing as he's currently suspended, a minor detail he appears determined to ignore. Elsewhere, Britt's attempt to confide in Jason sparked exactly the reaction one would expect: an arched eyebrow and the promise of complications. The dramatic diagnosis hanging over her has all the authenticity of a forged parking permit, given Victor's famed enthusiasm for medical manipulation. The conveniently worsening symptoms and the convenient miracle cure form a duet so discordant it practically exposes itself. As for Willow's plunge into calculated menace, well, that has been the one genuinely intriguing development. The speed with which she moved from emotional turmoil to sticking Drew in the neck suggests either a newfound boldness or an increasingly fragile grip on reality. Perhaps she imagines a coma will clear the path to the children, eliminating what she perceives as Michael's excuse to restrict access. Subtlety, evidently, is no longer her preferred tool. The legal technicalities only make the picture more entertaining. Double jeopardy offers her no refuge should Drew fail to wake up. Attempted murder may be charged as many times as one attempts it, and the list is already long enough to require pagination. Of course, there is a certain dark charm in the suggestion that she should have announced her desire for divorce right there in the courtroom, delivering it with the icy precision of a scalpel, while Michael offers his silent, approving nod. It would have been cleaner than drugging Drew, though, admittedly, far less theatrical. And somewhere amid all this chaos sits Drew himself, loathed by many, perhaps, but a testament to the actor's skill that his character inspires such fervent disdain. Even his absence generates more narrative movement than half the cast at full speed. In short, the drama delivers plenty. Chase swinging, Willow scheming, Sonny shrugging, and Michael preparing to flatten Chase with more competence than Chase has shown in weeks. The only real question left is how long this storyline can sustain itself before someone else ends up unconscious. Are you a General Hospital viewer tired of watching presidential speeches hijack the only drama that still makes sense? Once again, the great American tradition of preempting daytime television for urgent presidential addresses has struck, prompting a wave of confusion, irritation, and existential despair. Apparently, nothing says national importance like interrupting one of the few consistently dramatic institutions left in this country: General Hospital. The news bulletin lasted roughly 2 minutes, yet viewers were rewarded with an entire rerun. Truly, public service at its finest. While networks congratulated themselves for this breathtaking display of overcaution, audiences were left to unravel an episode in which at least something actually happened. A serious medical emergency unfolded, mercifully confirmed not to be a dream sequence, and Willow managed to dispose of a certain incriminating needle with a speed that would impress even seasoned professionals. One can only marvel at the writer's creative commitment to letting her immediately attempt a second chemical intervention, armed with either nursing knowledge, police-sourced supplies, or perhaps Chase's floral-arranged contraband. The philosophy is simple. If at first you fail, simply try again with more questionable judgment. Meanwhile, Drew's storyline inches toward either paralysis or indefinite coma, both of which promise blessed relief from his heroic melodrama. The possibility that Willow might frame Michael for Drew's demise now hovers temptingly overhead. At this point, it would almost be refreshing. One character plots revenge, another plots exoneration, and everyone plots their escape from this endless arc. In a rare moment of unity, viewers seem prepared to retire the Faison storyline altogether, having suffered through enough convoluted villainy for one decade. Yet they brace for more, as the schedule continues to collapse under presidential speeches, encore episodes, and platform restrictions that make watching the show feel like navigating a maze designed by Disney's legal department. Streaming services insist episodes are available, only to hide them as effectively as state secrets. Still, salvation arrives in unexpected forms. A helpful uploader, apparently the day's unofficial national hero, managed to provide access to the full episode, enduring accusations of trolling simply for offering what the networks would not: the ability to watch the show that was supposed to air. Gratitude poured in as if a humanitarian mission had been completed. And as discussions expand, Sasha's impending return surfaces with cautious optimism. At least someone is coming back willingly. In the end, the outrage is simple. If a program must be interrupted, why must the interruption devour the entire hour? Why not choose another show, preferably one the audience isn't actually interested in? But no, General Hospital remains the sacrificial lamb whenever someone in high office feels compelled to speak. A shame, really. One expects better from institutions that claim to understand the public. Then again, when even fictional hospitals manage crises with more competence than real networks, expectations may simply be too high. Here's the real twist on General Hospital. The only coherent storyline is Gio's violin solo. The current state of General Hospital resembles a writer's room that threw its note cards in the air and decided to film whatever landed face up. Plot lines appear, vanish, and reappear with the commitment of a soap character returning from the dead, minus the entertainment value. Start with the Drew Willow spectacle. The melodramatic syringe moment, complete with a conveniently distant, vacant gaze from Willow before the stab, plays less like attempted murder and more like someone imagining a scene that never actually happened. Drew's reaction, dialed well past 11, only highlights the absurdity. Naturally, he will be perfectly fine, because nothing in Port Charles ever dares to follow through to a consequence. This chronic aversion to payoff infects the entire canvas. Jocelyn Jax's sudden romantic setup was introduced, teased, and discarded with the efficiency of a storyline that never wanted to exist. One wonders why the script bothered to bring in a hookup at all, unless the goal was to remind viewers how disposable characters can be. Ava Jerome's decision to turn in Valentine Cassadine arrives with the narrative coherence of a plot twist chosen by lottery. Motivation? Logic? Continuity? The show waves them away like minor inconveniences. Meanwhile, Anna Devane is diverted into the Emma Scorpio Drake and Gio Palmieri thread, while the far more compelling and actually relevant arc of Valentine discovering Anna's presence at Sidwell's house is left untouched. It's as if the writers spotted a meaningful story and sprinted in the opposite direction out of sheer principle. Drew Kane's blackmail accusations against Portia Robinson were supposed to vanish or risk rendering him useless. Yet, here they come again, only to stall out again. His near arrest after Tracy Quartermain's demands went unmet was positioned as the start of something significant, and then promptly abandoned. The pattern is unmistakable. Endless setups, no follow-through, and a growing graveyard of half-baked plots. Viewers aren't demanding whiplash-inducing twists. They're asking for the radical novelty of cohesive storytelling, actions with consequences, storylines with endings, characters with motivations that exist for longer than a commercial break. Instead, the show spins its wheels so vigorously, one could swear the writers are trying to create friction sparks. Amid all this narrative chaos, one might reasonably prefer the serenity of Gio's violin over yet another meandering detour into the Drew and Willow storyline, especially on days when Drew struts around as if the universe exists to reward his smug grin, or when Alexis awaits repayment of a bargain he clearly has no intention of honoring. Nina, ever delusional about her position as the patron saint of "my daughter," attempts to intervene before Drew can celebrate Willow's acquittal in his typical charming fashion. His true sentiments spill out the moment he believes Willow is out of earshot. Yet another case of a character speaking vile truths only when the intended target isn't listening. To Nina's credit, she usually earns the ire she receives. Even so, the scene plays like a contest to determine who can be the most unlikable in the shortest amount of time. Enter Chase, carrying flowers and enough misguided enthusiasm to power the hospital's generators. His earnestness grants him the dubious honor of tying with Drew for most pathetic character of the day. Willow's gratitude for his support only sharpens the contrast between her demeanor and Drew's increasingly self-satisfied entitlement. Then comes the syringe moment, a scene that briefly sparks hope that the writers might deliver something bold, perhaps even permanent. Champagne, an ominous shift behind his back, and finally, the jab to the neck. His expression of disbelief raises the question: is this the end? A kidnapping? Or merely another plot that will evaporate by morning? Ideally, she would finish the job after confessing to the 2 shots she previously placed in his back, along with the depth of her loathing, but expecting narrative courage at this stage is wishful thinking. Meanwhile, the interruption of episodes due to political coverage adds one more absurdity to the pile, leaving viewers scrambling for ways to watch without relying on yet another subscription service. As if inconsistent scheduling were not enough, fabricated news stories and unrelated images clutter fan spaces, making it increasingly difficult to focus on what little genuine content remains. The verdict is simple. General Hospital is suffering from narrative amnesia. Storylines start without purpose, escalate without direction, and disappear without resolution. Longtime viewers deserve an upgrade from this revolving door of abandoned arcs. Finish a plot. Commit to a consequence. Give characters motivations that survive past the next scene. Until then, the most reliable performance on screen may truly be Gio's violin. At least the music follows a structure the writing currently lacks. At the current rate of collective outrage, daytime television may soon find itself without a single surviving character. The pattern is charmingly predictable. The audience demands Drew's departure, treats him abysmally, insists Sidwell must go, campaigns for Sam's removal, then promptly demands her return. Willow should vanish, unless, of course, she should not. Jason must not be with Britt, nor should he be with Carly. Joss with Dex was unacceptable, yet Dex's exit apparently constituted a tragedy. Stability, it seems, is the true enemy. And yet, amid the calls for mass character extermination, the cast continues to deliver commendable work, particularly impressive given that many viewers appear fully committed to experiencing a scripted soap opera as if it were unfolding in their living rooms. This is, after all, the basic function of daytime drama: to provoke love, loathing, and the occasional impulse to hurl a remote. The show achieves this consistently, even when a storyline lingers long enough to test collective patience. Crafting narratives capable of making viewers laugh, cry, and contemplate throwing a cushion at the television in the span of a single episode is no small task. The younger cast members, navigating material that is often emotionally fraught, deserve equal recognition. Of course, the struggle to follow the narrative has prompted increasingly imaginative interpretations. Critical thinking has apparently become an optional accessory, as evidenced by theories so illogical they raise concerns for the theorist's safety in a room containing electrical outlets. Once the show provides an answer, a continued insistence on guessing, incorrectly and with confidence, becomes a spectacle unto itself. When a storyline clearly equals 4, insisting it equals 7 does not constitute creativity. It constitutes confusion. Meanwhile, interpersonal conflict continues to generate spirited debate. Chase announces that Michael will pay, though Chase delivered the first punch. Without intervention, Michael likely would have made that clear. Some even hope Michael presses charges, while others pray for this to mark the merciful end of Drew. And naturally, broadcast interruptions induce a level of despair usually reserved for natural disasters. The idea that programming might air at noon rather than later in the day apparently qualifies as an unacceptable hardship. Speculation about Willow's storyline reaches operatic proportions. Rumors range from a simple needle incident to a Canadian report of a massive stroke. Tragically, not a dream. Others propose that Willow harbors a split personality, a narrative borrowed from One Life to Live, complete with a protective alter ego emerging from past trauma. In this tale, sweet Willow coexists with betrayed Willow, who can snap on command and handle threats with ruthless efficiency. For those unsatisfied with only one convoluted theory, there is also the proposal to resurrect the long-debated divide between old Michael and new Michael. The solution? Assign the newer actor the role of Morgan, conveniently explained by a burn trauma center mix-up in which 2 badly injured young men overheard nurses repeating the name Michael and drew the appropriate soap operatic conclusion. Under this revisionist history, Ava rescued Morgan out of guilt. Willow's split personality explains her inconsistent romantic attachments, and both men can now exist simultaneously. Because why settle for one wildly implausible twist when 3 are available? And just when the narrative seems sufficiently packed, another theory emerges. Sidwell is actually César Faison's long-lost brother, haunting Anna from beyond reasonable storytelling restraint. The needle to the neck? Absolutely real. Tears? Unlikely. Yet he will probably return anyway, because no character in this universe ever stays gone for long. In conclusion, the audience remains passionately invested, wildly inconsistent, occasionally baffling, and endlessly convinced it could write the show better. Should the writers ever require assistance, there is evidently no shortage of volunteers prepared to supply entire multi-generational plot arcs, complete with doppelgangers, secret brothers, psychological disorders, and burn unit mix-ups, at a moment's notice. Are you invested in GH enough to ask the real question? Who's actually moving out of the mansion? Michael or Chase? Apparently, the modern soap-watching experience requires toggling between televised politics and fictional chaos, two genres that increasingly resemble each other. Those seeking refuge from real-world news discover that even in Port Charles, current events seep in through constant interruptions and impassioned commentary about the greatest president ever addressing the nation. The solution, of course, is simple. Mute the broadcast and wait for the escapism that refuses to escape. Meanwhile, the show's ongoing obsession with double jeopardy continues to exercise viewers who believe an acquittal is essentially a lifetime punch card for attempted murder. The law, as quaint as it is, does not actually grant anyone an eternal subscription to criminal immunity. Should Willow attempt to kill again, she can indeed be charged again. Shocking, perhaps, to those whose legal expertise begins and ends with decades of formulaic crime procedurals. But legal confusion is only the appetizer. The real feast is the sudden behavioral whiplash spreading across the cast. Chase, once a respectable character, now behaves as if Willow's personal floral delivery service, complete with hugs, defenses, and enough earnest devotion to qualify as parody. His evolution has reached the point where he is rapidly climbing the ranks of most irritating character, especially as anticipation builds for the inevitable moment he learns Willow actually did shoot Drew. Then there is Trina, formerly the patron saint of honesty and loyalty, who has now discovered the strategic value of silence. Specifically, silence unless absolutely necessary. After nearly a year of moral lecturing, the pivot is nothing short of inspirational. As for Drew, the plotline has graduated from vague peril to full medical catastrophe. Reports indicate a massive stroke, allegedly triggered by whatever Willow injected into his neck. No dream sequence, no symbolic vision, just a full medical emergency followed by convenient disposal of evidence. Depending on which rumor mill spins fastest, his stroke spares Willow from actual murder charges, paves the way for an extended rehabilitation exit, and places Drew conveniently out of commission with no ability to speak. A silent man with assets and a power of attorney waiting to be claimed. What could possibly go wrong? Even Tracy gets her moment, delivering the tantalizing declaration that Drew is getting exactly what he deserves, prompting the inevitable question: what precisely does he deserve? A stroke? Betrayal? Or perhaps merely the narrative satisfaction of watching an over-polished hero tumble off his pedestal? The future of Drew is a popular daydream. Some envision a poetic unraveling, his congressional seat gone, his relationship with Willow destroyed, his life descending into satisfying misery, though not, of course, a full eviction from the show. Villains are essential. Without them, the program risks drifting into the saccharine embrace of the Hallmark universe, where the only crimes involve misplacing a Christmas ornament. And finally, the calls for the return of mean, scary Sunny grow louder. The current version, calm, collected, and suspiciously stable, simply won't do. Viewers demand a proper shootout, the kind that reminds everyone why Port Charles keeps its emergency services on speed dial. In short, the audience wants less real-world interruption, more fictional mayhem, and absolutely no more legal misconceptions. If the characters could cooperate by staying morally consistent for at least 2 consecutive days, that would be a refreshing twist. But then again, where's the fun in that? Subscribe for more video on GH.